Good evening and welcome to the Godfather Minute. I'm Alex Robinson.
And I'm Andy Robinson.
And together we are the Godfather Minute Brothers. Today we're talking about minute 96. Is that right? 96?
That's right, Alex. What, did you go to the College of Weights and Measures to get stupid?
Wait. Are you trying to tell me this is minute 96 we're talking about?
Alex, we don't talk about the minute numbers at the
table.
At the table.
The recording table.
That's right.
Well, before I give the summary of minute 96, why don't you give me a little Italian lesson?
E minuto numero 96.
96?
Say.
Say?
It's like say.
Like say.
But it's like say.
96.
You got it.
All right. 96.
It's an easy one.
So we're in the Don's recovery room. He's back home after being coming back from the hospital and then getting all those weights in his gurney. Speaking
of the Department of Weights and Measures, he's got sandbags all under his eyes and
he totally sandbagged me. So Tom tells the bedridden Don that it was Mikey who killed Sollozzo. Which the Don is very saddened to hear, and he gestures for them to leave the room, which they all do.
Cool.
Then outside the room, Sonny tells Tom he wants to escalate the war against the Tatalias. But Tom naturally has concerns and urges caution.
I'm urging caution, Sonny. You know, it's funny. You always say the summary of the episode when we begin. I too write a summary every time, but it's really for the coding of the MP3 that we upload. So it's interesting the differences in the summaries. I mean, mine's much shorter and conciser because it's just text to accompany the file.
A very brief description.
But mine said, maybe we should start comparing them. Mine says, Don Corleone learns that Michael killed Sollozzo and McCluskey. Sonny and Tom argue about next steps.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Pretty much the same thing. Yours is more like the TV guide, like a capsulized review.
Yours is much more tension building. It sort of brings people in because
I'm trying to set the stage for it. So.
Nice work.
Somebody on the
what did you go to TV guide school to write good reviews?
Somebody on the internet was asking if they can listen to this show if they've never seen the movie. And I said, my thinking is that you can, but I urge everyone, your time is much better spent watching the movie than it is listening to us crack wise about it.
But if you are committing to the podcast and haven't watched it, you might as well listen to the entire movie and then go back and watch it. That would be a fantastic experience, wouldn't it?
Do you finally get to see what all this you've been told, all these references you've been hearing for all these years?
I know.
So let's get to it then.
Although I have to say that the converse, I think that's the
sneakers?
No, the converse of what you said is correct. Is probably, it might be possible where you could watch the movie without listening to the podcast.
It's theoretically possible.
You could do it. I don't know if it would be as good though.
It's possible.
Yeah. Is that the converse or is it the inverse?
Oh, I know. You've been in school more recently than I have.
And then there's the contrapositive, which is the third one.
Or the reverse. Well, let's talk about minute 96 then. The Don does not seem to take it very well that Mikey is the one who killed Sollozzo.
Yeah.
And Tom has always seemed like he was the most concerned for the Don's emotional, like, oh, Don's not going to like this, or Don doesn't want Mikey involved. Yeah. So he's always kind of the little, Jiminy Cricket on Sonny's shoulder telling him like, oh, Don's not going to like, Don always said, don't play ball in the house. that kind of thing. And he was right.
Don always said, never make a drug deal with a guy from Turkey or from Sicily.
Don always said, never let anyone outside the family know what you're thinking. That's my...
Well, it makes sense that Tom is the more cautious one because he can be fired, whereas Sonny is Santino is Don Corleone's son, so he really he's stuck with him forever. So Sonny knows that he won't be excommunicated by his father. So he can take more chances.
So Tom is worried about it.
Yes, yeah. Well, the way you described it, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, because I guess
Tom is probably thinking in the back of that, oh my gosh, if I don't do a good job, who knows, I'll be Tatalia's consigliere.
Well, that doesn't. That seems like it would be a good.
No, it's a demotion.
Do you think
Tatalia's a pimp?
Do you think that ever happens where people leave one family and then like on good terms with their old family and then go work for another family, or like once you're signed up for with a crew, you're with that crew for life?
I think so. You know why?
Why?
Omerta.
That's true. Well, it just means you can't talk about what happened.
Yeah, so maybe Omerta is a reason they would hire someone. That'd be a great interview, wouldn't it? Consigliere Hagen, I'm doing my best Tatalia right now. Mr. Hagen, tell us your experience. Tell us how you will help us draw water from the well.
If I were to appear before a judge in the morning, what would you have me do?
Mr. Tatalia, it's clear that Barzini is running the business. According to my research, you're a pimp. But you still would have to show cause. Woo! Would they still cheer for it even though Tom is using it in an interview? He's not using it in action. It's really theoretical. Who's cheering? Is it Tatalia and the rest of the interview team?
Well, no, I was just doing it.
Oh, just you. Oh,
yeah. Okay. You couldn't tell? You didn't know that was me? I know you put a lot of sound effects in and stuff, so maybe I threw you off the...
Oh, no. Whoa, what do you mean sound effects? So, side note for all our listeners, everything you hear is live in the studio. Everything.
Every time we do the song, you play it live.
Everything.
One man band style.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Look, my hands are up. My hands are not on the computer. Check this out. I talked to Barzini.
Whoa.
See? Alex, come on, verify. My hands are up in the air.
His hands are up in the air.
What were we talking about? Oh, so when Sonny comes down the stairs and Tom and they're talking, I think it's great how Sonny tells Tom he wants to find out where, quote, that old pimp Tatalia is.
Mm-hmm. Is it OL apostrophe?
I think I just typed it that way.
Oh, okay.
But that old pimp, Tatalia.
Yeah.
And it's great that Sonny refers to him as a pimp because we don't hear until later Don Corleone referred to Tatalia as a pimp. So it makes you wonder, remember later?
Yeah,
after the meeting with the families. So I wonder if Don Corleone has been referring to Tatalia as a pimp this whole time, and while Sonny's been growing up and Sonny kind of learned that from Don Corleone. Or
the converse.
Oh no! You mean the contrapositive?
Contrapositive, which is that Tatalia learned it from Sonny.
Oh, so you think that Don is upstairs, and in his half sleep, drugged out state, he heard Santino refer to Tatalia as a pimp, and then 6 months later, when he's talking to Tom in the car, he's like, "Tatalia's just a pimp."
Yeah, I think because the way when like younger people will use like slang, and the Don's trying to like fit in, so he's like, "Oh, Tatalia's totally dope. He's fresh."
Don Corleone, that term won't come into existence until Pop Culture 1983.
Even pop culture.
Is he laughing at that?
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming to me with these new beats and raps without melody, but my answer is no.
It's actually funny because it also shows that Sonny is not a good Don.
Tell us more.
Because, I don't know. Because, obviously he's hot-headed, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that, like, later on when the Don says, "Oh, I can't believe Barzini did that," and then Tom says, "Oh, you mean Tatalia?" And then he's like, "Tatalia's a pimp. It was Barzini all along." Like so, but Sonny clearly is showing that he thinks that Talia is behind it all. So it's like a way of kind of that Sonny is going for the most surface level like response.
He's falling for it.
Yeah.
And Tom is too. Apparently, he doesn't know at this point that it's Barzini.
Yeah. Well, Tom doesn't have a head for big deals. He's not. He's like an advisor. He's not He doesn't have the. He's not the strategist really.
Yeah. He's really. And maybe that's not his responsibility. Maybe he's just an operations guy.
It's hard. He
seems way out of his element with Don Corleone laid up. He seems really conflicted about what to do, and Sonny's trying to call shots, but Tom's just really. Well, even going back to when they permitted Michael to commit the assassination, Tom was uneasy the entire time.
Yeah. Well, I guess he's really in an uncomfortable position of having to serve two masters right now because he has to deal with Sonny, but then he knows that the Don is still a factor that he has to keep in mind that basically he's going to be held responsible for everything Sonny does. The Don is going to be like, "Why don't you tell him not to do that? The wall's costing us a lot of money."
Michael, where's Michael? Well, bring me Michael's Christmas ribbons. Mama, Papa, Jacob. Do you think that's maybe that's what happens when, or in the outtakes when Don Corleone finds out that Santino got killed? Don Corleone goes, Jaco.
Wait, why is he saying Jenko?
Because he wished he had Jenko.
Oh, I see. Got it.
It's like because Fredo is like just it's the visceral response.
Well, that's what they should in that scene where they were at Jenko's deathbed. That's what he should have been like. Jenko, trying to wake him up.
Jenko mio. What else you got for this minute, Alex?
Well, so they talk about pop negotiating.
Yeah,
I like that. I also like that it shows Tom has faith that the Don can pretty much negotiate out of the situation.
Yeah,
and, and that Sonny's like he might take him too long.
Yeah,
it might take him months to recover to the point where he can negotiate. Sonny's got to do something now to. Although he doesn't have to, as Tom says, things are starting to loosen up.
Do you think Sonny's just so hot-headed that he can't help but go to war and omerta and just follow all those real basic traditional rules of the Sicilian mob, vengeance?
Well, I guess when you're when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, right? Isn't that
good. Never heard that before.
Really? Never heard that before?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, yeah, it's a.
I heard if I had a hammer.
Wait, what would you do?
If I had a hammer, I would. What is it? Go find Tatalia and go
kill him with the hammer.
If I had a hammer, isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I got some things about this minute, Alex.
Okay.
It was funny how Tom, when Sonny's saying we got to keep fighting, and I'm going to go after Tatalia, I'm going to kill him. And they're talking about business. They're starting to shout at each other. And Tom says, they don't have our overhead. It's just funny to think about like those overhead costs. And in the book, Puzo writes a lot about what's been going on even up to now in the war and how it's affected operations. And I'll read a little bit from that.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, and I think it's kind of interesting. I also wrote down the overhead line because it also shows that the Corleones are like a big operation, and so they're like the more powerful you are, the more like you also have the more responsibilities you have. Like they must have like thousands of people on the payroll, that has to trickle down through the capital regimes down to every storefront and everything. So
the political protection, that's got to cost a ton.
Yeah. Especially since they're still skittish. And they always keep running for cover. You gotta lure them back out with more money. So I think it's interesting thinking of the overhead. Whereas like someone who's just, it's kind of like true for a lot of situations where someone who's just starting out with less to lose and less tools at their disposal has the advantage of being like a leaner. They can take, they might be able to take more chances because they're a more streamlined operation.
Maybe, but I also can't help but believe the larger the organization, the more complex it is, the more robust it is. and so it's less susceptible to damage or to a rupture throughout the entire organization. Like if you're an operation of 3 people and one person gets killed, that's pretty significant destruction to your operations. Where you have an organization with 400 guys and a guy or 2 gets clipped off, you just replace them. It's like big business. Right?
Big business. Yeah. I agree. But I think it's true up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Because then after a certain point, it's like, we'll look at like the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. You know, the British Empire was like, oh, we're this giant fighting machine, but just like the sustained, overhead costs of having the army is what they're just like, forget it. This just isn't worth the fight anymore.
Overextended.
So that's why if you're a leaner operation, you can adapt quicker to different situations. So they both have their pros and cons. But
by the way, George Washington hated having to fight all the guerrilla style,
little defensive style, run away all the time.
He thought it was cowardly and unhonorable.
He was the Sonny of the American Revolution.
We'll go right up to him and shoot him in the head
with a musket. What do you think? You shoot a guy from 10 feet away? No, you gotta get right up to him.
You gotta go right up.
Pack your ball, pack your cotton, put that stick in the thing, and shoot him.
What do you think? You shoot from a mile away. You got to get right up till you see the whites of his eyes, and then boom, get blood all over your all over your tricorn hat.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Maybe that's what we need to start doing for bonus content. Transplant mashups. The Godfather universe mashes up against like the Civil War. Mash. Oh, it's a real mashup, right?
Oh, I like that idea. Let's do it. Let's
just pick a couple random ones. Maybe we'll just put some random ones in a hat. Maybe we'll put like different Godfather characters' names in a hat, and then another hat will have different.
Wow, that's a lot of hats at this.
There's just 2 hats. One for you, one for me.
No, right now we don't have any hats. I'm just saying it's a huge increase in the number of hats we have.
Okay, well, I guess if you want to just keep operation how it's going, if you're not ambitious.
I think we should stay a lean, small operation.
Well, let me read a little bit from the book, Alex.
Sure. What do you got for me?
Puzo writes some really interesting things. So at this point in the movie, things are loosening up business-wise, right? Mm-hmm. And
according to Tom.
According to Tom, you never know. He's not a Sicilian consigliere. Can you really trust him?
Yeah.
And so Tom is
German-Irish.
Tom is check him out. Tom is lobbying to let things go because they're losing a lot of money. Yeah. Sonny still wants to fight. So Puzo in the book writes a lot about this moment in time when they're still fighting, but there's just a little bit of loosening up. I like to read a little bit.
Okay. What do you have for us?
Puzo writes, this is Hagen. I think what they want is he's talking about the other families. Uh-huh. I think what they want is for us to agree to come in on the narcotics trade, to use the family influence politically. In other words, Sollozzo's deal minus Sollozzo. But they won't broach that until they've heard us with some sort of combat action. Then, after we've been softened up, they figure we'll listen to a proposition on narcotics. Sonny said curtly, no deal on drugs. The Don said no, and it's no until he changes it. This is the interesting part I really wanted to get to. Hagen said briskly, then we're faced with a tactical problem, Sonny. Our money is out in the open. Bookmaking and policy. We can be hit. But the Tattaglia family has prostitution and call girls and the dock unions. How the hell are we going to hit them? The other families are in some gambling, but most of them are in the construction trades, shylocking, controlling the unions, getting the government contracts. They get a lot from strong arm and other stuff that involves innocent people. Their money isn't out on the street. The Tattaglia nightclub is too famous to touch it. It would cause too much of a stink. And with the Don still out of action, their political influence matches ours. So we've got a real problem here.
Interesting details there.
It reminded me of what you were talking about. This larger organization, they're more exposed.
Right. Well, and also that the things that they specifically focus on
Yeah.
are things that are particularly vulnerable, I guess.
It's interesting. And then Sonny responds, "It's my problem, Tom," said Sonny. "I'll find the answer. Keep the negotiations alive and follow through on the other stuff. Let's go back into business and see what happens. Then we'll take it from there. Clemenza and Tessio have plenty of soldiers. We can match the whole 5 families gun for gun if that's the way they want it. We'll just go to the mattresses."
All right.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
We'll peek behind the curtain of the the day-to-day operations.
So we knew that Tattaglia was involved in everything with him is whores.
Yeah.
So that it's him, and then who did it say that? What did it say? Barzini, or who was the other one it said?
He didn't
Because the
write
Corleones
about a particular family.
Oh, okay.
He just said the other 5 families.
Yeah. But what are the Corleones involved in? What does he cite?
The Tattaglia family has prostitution and call girls. Huh? Is that different?
I guess call girls are like whether they come to your house as opposed to street girls. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know, do you?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know them. I don't know that thing. Let's see. Oh, and Tattaglia has the dock unions. The other families are in some gambling. Well, most of them are in the construction trades.
Construction.
Shylocking, controlling the unions, getting the government contracts. I would have thought that the Corleones would be in all that stuff.
So what do the Corleones have? I guess the political protection. The judges.
Yeah. Doesn't say. Well, there's an earlier
And
section.
the olive oil and the molasses.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of bookmaking operations. I know that. And there's a whole section before that about Harlem. So apparently when the Corleones had to go to the mattresses, I don't know if they were partners with them, but there were people up in Harlem, basically the black gangs, who took over their territory. I think with permission. It's hard to say. I don't know if they had permission, or whether they were just naturally taking over that territory because the Corleones were
because they were weak
at the mattresses. Yeah, but as we'll see in this next minute, they talk a little bit about the operations up in Harlem.
That's true.
Yeah.
I also like that Tom specifically says your war is costing us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like your war, not the war or their war. It's your war.
Yeah.
He's like specifically laying it at Sonny's feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I guess it kind of is ultimately because he's the one who blabbed about in front of the Turk about wanting the deal,
Oh my
so
gosh.
it really is his war. He's the one who started it.
Imagine one sentence or a few words you utter. Next thing you know, you in the history books, you a war named after you. Your Papa shot, almost dead.
Papa shot. And so that also probably is also why Sonny is so adamant about being aggressive in the war, because he knows on some level that he's the one who kind of brought this all on.
Yeah.
So
this is his
he's
reputation.
out for their deal.
Yeah. There's one more part in the book that Puzo writes about. This is fascinating to me, and it's not revealed in the movie. You ready?
Yes.
Let's see. Puzo writes, page 250. The most important was that the Corleone family had overmatched itself.
Overmatched itself?
Overmatched itself. There were reasons. So, in other words, they had, that's an odd word. They were not necessarily going to win this.
Oh, overmatched meaning they're taking on someone who is more powerful.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
There were reasons for this. So this is kind of Sonny's reflections now. With the Don still too weak to take apart, a great deal of the family's political strength was neutralized. A great deal of the family's political strength was neutralized. Sonny.
It was at the end of his son.
Well, I just say that so you know it's Tom speaking.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So this is Sonny reflecting. Also, the last 10 years of peace had seriously eroded the fighting qualities of the two capo regimes, Clemenza and Tessio.
Oh, that makes sense.
Isn't that interesting? Clemenza was still a competent executioner and administrator, but he no longer had the energy or the youthful strength to lead troops. Tessio had mellowed with age and was not ruthless enough. Tom Hagen, despite his abilities, was simply not suited to be a consigliere in a time of war. His main fault was that he was not a Sicilian. This is the great part. Sonny Corleone recognized these weaknesses in the family's wartime posture, but could not take any steps to remedy them. He was not the Don, and only the Don could replace the capo regimes and the consigliere. And the very act of replacement would make the situation more dangerous, might precipitate some treachery. At first, Sonny had thought of fighting a holding action until the Dom could become well enough to take charge. But with the defection of the policy bankers, the terrorization of the bookmakers, the family position was becoming precarious. He decided to strike back. But he decided to strike right at the heart of the enemy. he planned the execution of the heads of the 5 families in one grand tactical maneuver.
Wow.
To that purpose, he put into effect an elaborate system of surveillance of these leaders. But after a week, the enemy chiefs promptly dived underground and were seen no more in public. The 5 families and the Corleone Empire were in a stalemate.
So it's basically what Mikey winds up doing.
Yeah.
It was originally Sonny's plan.
Do you think Mikey got that idea from Sonny? Had they talked at one point?
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to think that was the case, because up until he becomes the head of the family, it sounds like Mikey didn't really talk about family business and stuff. But
definitely not at dinner.
Yeah, maybe save it. Yeah, or maybe later on there's a scene where like Tessio was like, "Hey, you know what? Before he died, Sonny had this great idea for or did Mikey give him that? Yeah, like I guess that's what you said, that they talk ahead of time.
Yeah,
and it's Mikey the one who came up with the.
Or maybe when Don Corleone and Mikey are in the garden later, he's like, yeah, Santino had this crazy idea of killing the heads of the 5 families. He should have been in the funny papers.
Yeah, maybe Fredo's the one who's like, Yeah, get all 5 of them together and just shoot them all at one time, Mikey.
I'll pick them up in a limo. We can get all 5 of them in there.
Do you think Fredo has killed anyone?
Wow. Probably.
I feel like he would have had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it was
trusted,
even if it was like, okay, like we'll bring him along on a killing we're doing, and he could just,
yeah,
he has to have made his bones. I assume.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting. I didn't read anything in the book about that. I wonder what that scene would have looked like.
It's like when you see those awkward things where somebody goes to a prostitute to lose their virginity. That's what it's like. Fredo. Just go in there and do it, Mikey. Just go in there and do it, Fredo.
I don't know about that, Alex. What do you say? You keep bringing this up.
Anything else for a minute?
Well, and just one more thing about that.
Tanta say.
I think it was a good move, Coppola leaving out that Sonny's idea to kill the heads of the 5 families, because it's so much more shocking and kind of brilliant, I guess, when Mikey does it at the end of GF1,
because it comes out of nowhere. You don't know if
yeah. But in fact, it was probably Clemenza's idea.
Clemenza all along. No, you know what? It was Mrs. Clemenza's idea.
Don't forget the cannoli and to kill all 5 before you come home.
And watch the kids when you're backing out. Get there this month.
That's a good Clemenza.
Thank you. I can say certain lines.
I'm much better at Tessio. Barney, you got to kill all 5, Barney.
I talked to Barzini.
I talked to Barney. Barney?
So, should we rate this episode?
Let's rate it.
All right. So we got. All right.
They come down this. Well, first they tell the Don that Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey was the one who did the deed. Marlon Brando is in a minute.
He is in it.
Oh, and he's heartbroken too.
He's heartbroken.
You got the gang together. They leave. Fredo's the last out of the room. They walk down the stairs. Oh, seeing Tom and Santino go at it.
Yeah, that's a good. All right.
Yeah, I got mine. Definitely. Wait. What? How does this minute actually end?
It ends with Tom.
They're still just talking, right?
Yeah, they're in the hallway still talking about what to do.
Okay, I got it.
The argument continues in the next minute.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Ready?
I'm not ready. I'm hinging between 2 numbers.
I know.
All right, I'll go with my gut.
Okay.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, we both tried to fake each other. Why did you go 3 and not 4?
I was torn between 3 and 4 because it is Sonny and Tom dialogue, but
the war of yours costing us a lot of money.
I feel like their stronger stuff is in the next minute.
Yeah,
because that's the Paphajenko.
I thought this minute ended with that, and then I would have changed my rating.
Yeah, so this is If you combine the 2 minutes, it's probably a 4-star minute.
Oh, solid 4 stars.
So this one would really probably be like 3.5.
Yeah.
If you had to do anything.
Yeah.
But that's
okay. You want to give any teasers for the bonus content, Alex? We haven't really talked about it yet.
Well, we said we were going to do putting the Godfather characters in different situations, right?
Yeah, but we don't have hats. So we'll just pick a theme and go with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
So if you want to hear us do that, you can go to godfatherminute.com/support, become throw us a little bit of money. I think at this point it's less than, it's like $1 a week, basically.
Yeah, basically.
And you get additional at least 10, 15 minutes, sometimes longer each week.
All you have to do is give up once. I don't even want to say the name of the coffee company. One
Sanka
brand name coffee out in most strip malls. Just once a month to afford the bonus content.
Yeah, it's nothing.
That's it. Just once a month. Live without it.
And that's the last thing I'll say, because I know our listeners get furious when we plug the bonus content. If you sign up now, you have 97, no, actually, it's probably about 90 episodes of bonus content to listen to.
That's amazing. That's good stuff.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, it is.
You and I have both said, and this is sincere, that some of our
I thought you and I have both said it's some of our best podcasting work. We really don't have a sign off yet for this.
No, I thought we came up with one.
Oh, we did. Zaza, Zaza, hey, 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 Zaza.